Thank you, Fernando and Francisco. Now let me introduce you our last speaker of the night. She is Sabina Olper. Sabi. Yep. Sabi graduated 2014 from ASF. She left to study biology in New Jersey, where she was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. Since 2015, she has been battling with a disease through various rounds of chemotherapy, radiation, and multiple surgeries. She studied applied mathematics at ITAM and currently works at a strategic advisory firm. Sabi.
Hi. Oh, that's such a good picture. Before I begin, I'd just like to give a little disclaimer. This is the story of my life, and it's a topic that I'm very passionate about, but I don't usually do these types of things, so if I seem a little nervous or tense, bear with me. So, as it was said, I graduated in 2014, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, so I took a gap year. And during that gap year, I learned a lot of things and I did a lot of cool things, but I had this pain in my leg that kept growing and growing. And despite going to so many doctors, they didn't know what it was. So eventually I moved to New Jersey to study biology, and the pain there became too big to ignore. And so eventually, through many specialists, they finally had an answer for me. So the official diagnosis I got was a synovial cell sarcoma, which is a rare type of cancer in your soft tissue, and it's classified as pediatric because it usually only occurs in young people. But when I got this diagnosis, it was such a shock because you're normally, well, nobody's ever prepared for this news, so my mind could only go to three places. So the first thing I asked was, am I going to die? To which they said, probably not. This is a treatable cancer, and survival rates are high, but there's no certainty. And then I asked, am I going to lose my leg? They said, again, no, probably not. We caught it early. And then finally, the only thing that I could think about was, am I going to lose my hair? Because at that time, the only thing I knew about cancer was not having hair. For the next year, I ended up having by far the hardest year of my life through various chemotherapy and radiation sessions and surgery, and I can safely say that losing my hair was the least of my worries now that I know what cancer really is. But as you can see, I had a pretty cool wig, so my hair was not that big of a deal. But I came back to Mexico and I enrolled in ITAM, and I sadly got diagnosed again, and then one more time, and right now I'm going through treatment. Hopefully this one will stick. And yeah, that's my story. However, I'm here to talk about everything that I've learned comes with cancer and everything that I wish people knew. The first thing is, cancer is not a death sentence. Yes, we associate cancer with death a lot, and it's fair because it happens, but I got diagnosed in November of 2015, which means that I've been living with this condition for 4 years, and every day I choose to wake up and live my life and work and just be normal. And yes, I go to treatment, which is, I guess, not normal, but there's a lot of life with cancer. It's not just you get cancer, you wait a while, and you die. You get to live throughout this process, you get to learn and grow throughout this process, and in many cases, you get to live after this process. Cancer, yes, affects the patient, affects me in this case, but it also affects everyone around this person. And now, I obviously never thought I was gonna go through this alone, but the way that it has changed my friends and my family, for both the worse and the better, it has been amazing. So yes, cancer is for an entire group, not just the person going through it. And this is perhaps the biggest thing that I've learned, is that life can change at any point. We have this misconception as a society that your young adult years or your teen years are supposed to be for college and growing and traveling and having fun, and absolutely that should be the case, but sometimes it's not. Life can flip upside down at any time, and instead of shying away from the conversation, which is what I know that most people do, they just don't want to talk about it, I think we should talk about it, and we should be prepared for it in case of it happening. We should be prepared for anything and be ready to have this conversation. So that's why I'm here. When I got cancer, obviously everyone finds out, and it has been my experience that reactions fall everywhere in the spectrum. I got from people who just didn't want to know anything about me and weren't ready to deal with this news, so they ghosted me and abandoned me and whatever. And then I got the complete opposite, which is people who are unconditional there in every step of the way. However, in my experience, most people fall in this middle ground in which they want to be there because the love is there and the care is there, but they don't really know how. And these people almost always fall in this spectrum of not wanting to seem careless, but not wanting to overstep. So I always get these questions of like, how do I do? How do I react when someone I know gets this news? And it's valid. So here's what you do. A text message like, I'm here for whatever you need, or how can I help, is probably the best thing that you can do, because that way you're like, I'm here for you, but you're not pressuring this person to answer or to do anything. Also, people always ask me like, oh, I want to give advice or I want to give an opinion, but I don't really want to be like pressuring this person into doing anything. So like, if you're going to offer advice and opinion, that's entirely fine, but be it something that you believe in, something that has changed you, and do it without pressure. Be like, this is what worked for me, or someone I know, here it is. Because everyone has heard of taking a teaspoon of lemon a day is gonna cure cancer, so you should do it. No, that's never happened. It doesn't work. Don't. Creating WhatsApp groups or social media groups is super helpful, because this way you update people like, today I don't feel well, or today I feel super well, or whatever, and everyone can just offer their support or their opinion in one basic media. And also to you, it might be like you're just sending a message, or you're just visiting or giving a gift or something, but you have no idea the impact you can have on someone. So even if to you it's a small fraction of your day, to me, it can change my day or my week. So always be willing to offer support, because you have no idea, honestly, the impact that you can have. And finally, be willing to learn. Like I said, there's no manual on how to react to this news or to these situations. The patient is going through it for the first time. You are too. So go with it together, and everyone can learn together. On the other hand, these are things that you should never do, because they're just not helpful. Don't get offended. It's never personal. If you text me, or if you want to be there for me. Oh, which by the way, I wanted to say on the other slide, but I forgot. If someone you know gets diagnosed with cancer and they're sharing that with you, don't tell them about your aunt or your friend or your friend's cousin who died of cancer. That's just never helpful. But again, do not get offended if I don't answer that day or something. Odds are I just don't feel well that day. It's never personal. And don't make it about yourself. Finally, next, don't assume I am my diagnosis. Remember that before I got cancer, I was your friend, I was studying math, I was your coworker, a girl you just knew. I'm not just cancer. I have cancer. But don't assume I am my diagnosis. And odds are, I want to talk about anything else that isn't cancer. I want to gossip, I want to learn, and I want to get distracted. And finally, it seems kind of obvious to put it up there, but don't forget about people who go through these things, because odds are I don't go to as many social events or as many professional events as you do. And yeah, you won't see me that often, but don't forget to check in once in a while. A relationship with someone going, and this, I want to say, transcends cancer. It's not just, it can be regarding any disease or mental disorder or someone going through a grieving process or something. A relationship with someone going through this cannot be 50-50. And this is something that we have to accept, even though it's unfair. I had this friend who we had a fight for whatever reason, and I had just come out of surgery, and I told her, like, I can't do this, I can't fight right now, I'm very weak because of the surgery. And she says, if you keep being a victim, if you keep using your cancer as an excuse, you're never gonna learn what it is to have 50-50 relationships. For the longest time, I believed her, and I was super offended. And then one day I realized she's right. I'm not gonna have a 50-50 relationship right now because I can't. And sometimes you're just gonna have to show up more and emotionally be there more. And that's just a reality. Call it unfair or call it whatever you want, but sometimes relationships cannot be 50-50, and we have to accept that. It's okay to have bad days, and it's okay to ask for help. I used to think that I had to be super positive and super strong and do everything on my own, but no, that's a complete lie. It's okay to sometimes be like, I want to lay down and watch Netflix, and I want to call a friend, and it's okay. And people come in and out of our lives. For some people have shown up for me during this cancer, some people haven't, and the only thing we can do is just appreciate them and learn and grow and be thankful. We shouldn't be resentful towards them. We shouldn't hold grudges or whatever. Just appreciate the fact that during that point of our lives, we got together, and whatever happens, happens. And finally, I'd like to share some silver linings that have come with these very tough moments. Going through something bad, I think one of the major silver lining is you get to see who in your life is unconditional, who shows up for you regardless of the situation you're in, who's there for you, not just for an ulterior reason. You stop taking things for granted. I mean, chemotherapy will tear you down emotionally and physically, so you learn a lot about being grateful. And this is, I think, something that we all need a little more of, gratitude. So everyone has bad days, even if you don't have cancer. And at the end, sometimes you just want to be like, I need this day to be over, and that's fine. But just be a little grateful for something. Like, I'm grateful that I have my bed, or that I'm watching this amazing show on Netflix, or that I have this book, or whatever. And a little gratitude will change your mindset. And finally, I've learned a lot of, going through this, a lot of new people and new perspectives on healing. I've always been the traditional Western route of chemotherapy and radiation, but I've learned so much about other routes like meditation, like cannabis healing, psychedelic medicine. I've learned so many ways of treatment that it's opened my mind to so many cultures and so many perspectives. And finally, I've learned a lot about empathy and forgiveness, because everyone is going through something. You sometimes don't know what it is, or you almost don't never know what it is, but just we need to be a little more empathetic and a little more forgiving with each other. And finally, I'd like to give a shout out to my amazing support system, which are my family and my friends, most of which I made here at ASF, which is amazing. And thank you for coming. I wouldn't have been here. I would not be here so positive if it wasn't for you guys. You have really changed my mind, blown my mind.